Well, with 15 days until Election Day and more than 14 million early votes already submitted, Donald Trump decided yesterday was the perfect day to highlight the peculiar biographical fact that he has never worked a day in his life. Donald McDonald made a special appearance at a completely rigged photo op version of a McDonald's drive-thru in which the customers were actually just posing as customers, having been pre-selected and pre-screened by the Secret Service to take their positions in the drive-thru line of a McDonald's that was actually completely closed down. Just so Donald Trump could pretend, for once in his life, for a few minutes, pretend to work for a living, the way Kamala Harris once did when she was working her way through school at McDonald's, just like her husband, Doug Emhoff, worked his way through school at McDonald's.
At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
The McDonald's that Donald McDonald closed down yesterday so that he could pretend to work is in Pennsylvania, of course, a crucial electoral college swing state where Vice President Kamala Harris began her day campaigning with Republican Liz Cheney.
In this election, and especially here in Pennsylvania, we have the opportunity to tell the whole world who we are. And we have the chance to say, you know, we're going to reject cruelty. We're going to reject the kind of vile vitriol that we've seen from Donald Trump. We're going to reject the misogyny that we've seen from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And we have the chance in this race to elect somebody who you know is going to defend the rule of law. You know Vice President Harris is going to defend our Constitution. We have the chance to remind people that we are a good country. We are a good and honorable people. We are a great nation. And in this race, we have the opportunity to vote for and support somebody you can count on. We're not always going to agree, but I know Vice President Harris will always do what she believes is right for this country. She has a sincere heart, and that's why I'm honored to be here and supporting her in this race.
That discussion was moderated by our first guest tonight, Sarah Longwell. The latest Washington Post poll shows Kamala Harris at 49 in Pennsylvania to Donald Trump's 47. The same poll shows Kamala Harris at 49 in Michigan and Donald Trump at 47 there. In Wisconsin, the Washington Post poll shows Kamala Harris at 50 and Donald Trump at 47. Wisconsin was the final stop on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney tonight.
And again, most recently, the report is that the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a decorated general, said of Donald Trump that he is fascist to the core. These are the people who know him best, people who worked with him. And so, yes, we can talk about that moment on stage of the music and all that, but I think it's very important that we acknowledge, and I've said publicly, Donald Trump is an unserious man. And the consequences of him ever being president of the United States again are brutally serious.
America's safety and security depends upon America leading, and it depends upon allies. Yeah. And when you have someone who is erratic and chaotic and unstable, that puts all of us at risk. I tell people often, you know, I spend a lot of time working on national security issues, and when people that I know in the Republican Party tell me they might be considering voting for Trump from a national security perspective, I ask them, go look at his national security policies. Please go look at them, because what he's proposing in terms of withdrawing from NATO, welcoming Vladimir Putin to attack our NATO allies, praising, he praises Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, and President Xi of China, and Putin of Russia. And if you listen to him, he doesn't just praise those people generally. He praises them for their cruelty, for their tyranny. That's not who we are as a nation. It's not who we are. And the world needs us to be better, and our own security and our own freedom requires that we have a president who understands America has to lead, and that our strength comes both from our greatness and also from our goodness. And that's Vice President Harris.
The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget released a report today saying that Donald Trump's tax proposals and budget proposals would leave Social Security facing insolvency in just 6 years. Vice President Harris responded to that news in Michigan.
The other issue that has come up recently has been the issue of what we are seeing again about Donald Trump just being frankly hostile to the whole notion and importance of Social Security. There are many seniors in our country that Social Security is their only form of income. And now an independent agency has reviewed Donald Trump's theory about Social Security and his policies, and has indicated that his policy would actually render the Social Security fund empty, essentially, in 6 years. Again, if you look at it from minimum wage to Social Security, Donald Trump clearly does not understand the needs of working people.
Donald Trump is, of course, running for president as a way of staying out of jail. He is facing sentencing next month in New York City for convictions he's already been found guilty of this year in a courtroom in New York. A panel of former Trump voters in Nevada, moderated by our first guest tonight, seems to have figured out what the Trump campaign is all about.
I think he's running for himself, to keep himself out of jail. He's a convicted felon. I don't trust him. I don't believe he respects the Constitution. And he will come in and he will change as much as he can. And I worry will become a dictatorship in the United States.
She snagged that dictatorship word from me right before I was going to use it. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to pass a thing where he can stay president for the rest of his life.
Donald Trump has spent more time publicly discussing his penis and the penises of other men he admires than any other presidential candidate in history. The total amount of time every other presidential candidate in history has spent on either one of those subjects is 0. The first time he ran for president, Donald Trump repeatedly referred to, in his vocabulary challenged way, his penis, after Marco Rubio said this.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them.
I have to say this. He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Yesterday, Donald Trump talked about one of the most famous golfers who ever lived, who Donald Trump said adoringly was all man.
Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable. I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold as a bad, but he was really something special. Arnold was something special.
He means it. He had to say it. He had to talk about Arnold Palmer's penis. Arnold Palmer died 6 weeks before the 2016 presidential election. His daughter, Peg, said, quote, he was appalled by Trump's lack of civility and what he began to see as Trump's lack of character. Our next guest began what became a day of public discussions for Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney with this question.
I've got to start with the thing that brings us here today, because I've got to say it is unusual for somebody who is as high up in the Republican leadership as Liz Cheney was to be out here campaigning with the Democratic nominee for president. And so maybe why don't both of you tell us, but you start. You've actually marshaled unprecedented support from Republicans in this election. Why do you think that is?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for being here and for your work. And the Congresswoman, thank you. I have said before, and it must be repeated each time, there are moments in the history of our country which challenge us, each of us, to really decide, do we stand for those things that we talk about, including in particular country over party. And you have been extraordinarily courageous in the way that you have done that, and I thank you for that.